Hey guys, this is James.
And this is Denny from TeaDB, episode 61.
Yep.
More Pu'erh.
Yep, more Pu'erh from White2Tea's, thanks to Paul over there. So today we will be brewing the 2007 Repave, which is a recent, it was kind of in its malcha form, so it was loose until this year, when Paul, this is a White2Tea's production, so he bought the malcha and he pressed it into a cake.
Well, and it still seems very loose.
Yes, definitely. And that's one thing that Western vendors tend to do a little bit more, Western-facing vendors, is to press it a little bit loose, and allows it to age a little bit easier in kind of like the cooler, drier climate of North America or Europe.
Interesting.
So that might have something to do with it, as opposed to like the super compressed teas that are meant to be stored in like Southeast Asia, for instance.
So, I'm curious about production-wise, if you're going to take loose-leaf tea that's dried and then press it, I'm just curious if you have to wet the tea again some way. Get the...
it's interesting. But I think the biggest impact that will have, and this is me talking from not a lot of experience, is that the tea will age faster when it's in its loose form.
Right.
Because if you think about it, that's the least compressed form of Pu'erh. So this might exhibit a little bit more agedness than your average 7-year-old tea.
Interesting.
It was also stored in Munghai County, which is a little bit more humid than like Kunming, where like Yunnan sourcing and all those other people are based. So we're gonna give this 2 rinses, and then we will be drinking.
So we have some clay. Is this the Jinshui clay?
No, this is not Jinshui.
Okay.
This is Yixing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's the ratio here you're using? Looks like?
Yeah, so we're using about 7 grams of tea leaf for a 95 milliliter, 100 milliliter Yixing clay tea pot. Okay. So, yeah. And the tea itself, one thing I really do appreciate about Paul over at White2Tea's is he doesn't blatantly or non-blatantly lie about how old the tea trees are. Because that's like one of the more comical things in the Pu'erh thing is like, oh, we have 875-year-old trees. Like, do you really know that?
Yeah.
No, you don't know that.
Yeah.
So he said, literally on the description it says, we are unable to verify the age of these trees. So that might be a good or bad marketing tactic from his point. But
I think it's a good one.
It's probably more honest than a lot of the Pu'erh descriptions you'll read online.
Depends on, I guess, the purchaser.
Definitely.
Someone like myself, I don't care how old something is, I care how it tastes. But if you're out to show off, then, which, hey, I guess there's a time and a place. So 2 rinses, high leaf to water ratio here. This is going to be intense. Flash brews.
Yep.
Traditional brewing methods. Cool. Getting that smoky smell already. Traditional kind of yellow color. So.
Yep, a little bit of orange, so you can tell that it definitely has a little bit of age on it. You want to take a smell.
I sometimes get cough medicine smell from this stuff sometimes, interestingly enough.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe what that is.
The sweetness from cough medicine?
It's actually like... oh man, it's like Tussin-esque. I sound like I'm a drug addict or something. Not true. Yeah.
If Denny's mom is watching this, turn it off. Denny doesn't do drugs.
But let's see. This is looking quite lovely. It looks pretty thin actually. Nice color though. So it's not looking super viscous. Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
So light, definitely. Much more petrol, gasoline-y, mineral. Nice little kind of like 3/4 of the way through sweetness that kind of rounds out the flavor for me.
I would say it's actually quite sweet. Sweet and smooth.
It's tasting a little bitter to me, but not in an astringent way.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can have bitter tea that has maybe like a chocolate bitterness to it, but it has also that kind of like mouth puckery tannin wine experience from the tannins.
Mm-hmm.
This has sort of the chocolate bitterness, but without the tannin mouth pucker experience for me.
Yeah.
So I think this is quite nice.
Yeah, it's very, very smooth, actually. Like, if Denny were to describe it as slightly bitter or astringent, which I think is true, it's definitely not overly so. It's very, very well balanced with kind of like a sweetness, and this is definitely ready to drink now. This is not kind of like a wait and see what will happen, or although you could treat it like that.
Definitely.
I don't know what would happen.
Most excited for this next couple because my guess is that the viscosity is going to improve dramatically as well as the length. So this could actually get in a little bit of like menthol mint.
Yeah, I could see that actually. Minty. Yeah, it's got a like if we're to pay attention to the aftertaste now, I do have the start of a lingering sweetness that I anticipate will begin to build a little bit.
Yeah, this is quite nice.
And so you see, it's a little bit oranger,
Definitely
deeper color.
Yeah, a little bit more viscous. This isn't something I would maybe introduce to a new tea drinker. This is. The flavor profile of this is a little bit more rough than I think the average new person who wants to just taste something that's kind of sweet and fragrant. This is
yeah. At the same point, it would be easier than, like, for instance, some young raw Pu'erh that you've had.
Definitely.
Because this does have some age. But I think last week's Manjuan, if you remember that, the 2014 would be a good young raw Pu'erh.
Absolutely.
Like, that would be very drinkable immediately.
Yeah, and for someone who's a little bit newer to Pu'erh. This has a distinct flavor that I think if this were your first experience with Pu'erh, it might be off-putting. Having had so much of it myself, I kind of like playing around the edges as well. So this is really nice.
Yeah.
Straightforward.
Yeah. So, like Denny was saying, this tea does taste a little bit deeper, a little bit stronger. I don't know. I do really enjoy this tea.
Yeah. Some. I'm getting like really like a little hint of like kind of cream, oat, vanilla, sort of like baking flavors. Not bacon. Baking. I love bacon though. Kind of like also like right before it's finished. Yeah, really nice. I like how this is changing.
Yeah.
And I'm noticing, James, more and more of the difference in sips. As we talked about a few episodes ago, I think it was our aged Oriental Beauty episode where we talked about, I don't know what the number was, but we talked about
3 sips.
Yeah, the sort of in how your palate kind of is anticipating, getting a little bit more used to, and then fully experiencing the tea. And this is a really great format to do so, and this is quite nice. Yeah.
Yep.
Nice big leaves. Again, very loose. James is doing a great job brewing it because it's tasting quite nice. I can sometimes wait a little bit too long on raw.
Yeah.
And yeah, this one should be quite potent. And look at the color; it's getting really deep. Really beautiful.
But I think this tea is a really good example of kind of like the different flavors that you could get from raw Pu'erh. It's like a lot of sweetness, but the sweetness is coupled with that kind of like slight astringency.
Definitely. And just so that I'm clear, when you say sweetness, James, you don't necessarily mean sweet in the same way that just no matter what sweet tea, something like Oriental Beauty or some sort of high mountain oolong. The sweetness in this is sort of a different character. Would you agree?
Yeah.
So sweet for raw Pu'erh.
It's kind of got a different texture than those teas, for instance. Yeah.
But it's the character itself of the sweetness does differ. It's not fruity. It's not that sweet corn experience at all. I'm not actually harder to place the sweet, how I would sort of describe the sweet flavor of this, but really nice. Ooh, nice. This one, I'm loving this on this. This is where I think this is really getting
got a little bit more mouth action happening here.
This is quite nice at this point.
Yeah, and this tea, I've brewed it once before. It has some pretty nice longevity. I think I was able to go for 8 to 10 times pretty easily.
Yeah.
Possibly more if I had wanted to steep it out.
Yeah. And this is quite nice. And I'm getting a little bit of that kind of menthol...
Mintiness.
Mint at the very, very end.
Yeah, that's interesting. I have a hard time identifying that just on my own, but a lot of times when I'm drinking raw Pu'erh, someone I'll be drinking with says that, and then I'll immediately notice it. So I think this might be a similar case, too.
Yeah.
But definitely a flavor that you don't really expect in tea.
No.
That can sometimes appear.
Yeah, definitely. And, I like sometimes describing teas as what they're not. So this isn't smoky. It's got more gasoline on it than smoke. It's not super fruity or vegetal. It's not super roasted like acorns or hazelnuts or anything like that. I don't know. I do have some sort of hint. There's something a little bit about this that feels a little bit like peach sweetness to me. Very subtle. Very subtle.
Interesting.
Almost like an aroma. But yeah, this is quite nice. I'm really enjoying this. This would be something that I would session on a daily basis.
Yeah. No, I think this is definitely drinkable. It's not overpowering. I'd say this tea is just very well balanced. It's like it's not super young. It's definitely not aged at that point, but it's at a point where it's just kind of sweet and smooth and exhibiting a lot of just very pleasant flavors for raw Pu'erh.
Yeah.
And this tea cake, it costs, I believe, $32 for a 200-gram cake. So pretty reasonable deal as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is great. This is just a great characteristic raw Pu'erh. I'm really enjoying it. So, if someone wanted to learn more about Pu'erh, high mountain Taiwanese oolongs, vendors online to buy tea from, different pricing comparisons, whole dearth of information, what should they do?
Yeah, they should come visit TeaDB.org. We've got a lot of just great information on Pu'erh, Taiwanese oolongs, all kinds of different teas, as well as check out White2Te. Paul over there has a lot of really good, interesting teas for good prices, such as this one.
Totally, yeah. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Please subscribe, and check us out next time. We're going to do a Right Pu'erh.
Yep, all right. We'll see you guys soon.
Ciao.